This is an impossible fix, but if I could fix some of the family relationships that my kids have, just seeing what kids go through today, and it kind of gives me, I guess, a form of survivor's guilt because I know I grew up with like the Joneses and just seeing how many kids are struggling and how many families are struggling. If I could fix that, I think that would change education by leaps and bounds.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brighter Together podcast. My name is Janet Courtney, and my special guest today is Kristin Davis. Kristen is a special education coordinator at a school in Noonan, Georgia, which I think you told me is just north of Atlanta. Is that right?
Just south of Atlanta.
Oh, south. See, I didn't
Yep,
even
south.
there you go. South of Atlanta. There you go. So it's warm. Are you warm?
Well, not right now.
No, not really.
No, it's been very cold, and we're not used to this.
I'm in South Texas too. I'm in Corpus Christi, and it's been in the 40s in the morning and 60s during the day. I don't like that. I don't like
Yeah,
that.
we had 17 degrees last week, and I was not liking that.
That's too cold. That's too cold.
Too
For those of you that are listening, and it's 6 weeks from now, we are talking, and it is February 4th. So we're still smack in winter, and with Tuxicani, whatever his name is, Phil, said 6 more weeks of winter. We just passed Groundhog Day. I was like, I don't like that either. So anyway.
We even just had a snow day, which was really a nice day.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, tell us a little bit as I take us off track.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about you and your position and what you do.
Sure. Well, I have been in education for 22 years. My degree is in special education, and I started in special education as a collaborative teacher down in Savannah. And I worked in special education for several years, and I remember being really young and thinking, that the burnout for special education teachers was in 5 years. And within 5 years, I don't know if I planted that in my head but in 5 years, I was ready to just kind of take a step back. That was a time where we didn't have all the checks and balances in our IEP systems like Go IEP to really prove that you were doing things by the dates. And I just felt like I was being asked to do things that I didn't find ethical. So I was like, I don't want to do this legal paperwork anymore. And so I stepped away and I taught math at the middle school level for 2 decades almost. And but the special ed part has always been near and dear to my heart. I've always wanted the collaborative classes. I always wanted the students with IEPs over like a gifted class. Those were my passion projects. I loved them. And then a few years ago, our special education coordinator position came up, and I had several friends say, "You'd be really good at that." And my whole thing was, I don't want to leave the classroom. I love working with children. But our special education coordinator at the time always had children in her office. She was always working with kiddos. And so I jumped ship from teaching math for so long and came back to my roots. And not much has really changed. Honestly, in special education, things look a little different as far as how we write our IEPs. And I love my checks and balances and the timestamps and all of those wonderful things. And so I've been in this role now for 2 years. I've learned a lot, but also I feel like I'm bringing a lot of things that um, I I really pushed for when I was younger, and now I can put them into practice. And it's funny because I've always complained about different things with special education as a gen ed teacher, and now I can put my money where my mouth is. So I love it.
There you go. There you go. Awesome. So one of the things that we talked a little bit about was how you conduct your IEPs and how you really put the parents first. So I'd love to have our guests hear about your
Absolutely.
philosophy.
Well, my first year in this role, there were a lot of meetings where we sat with the parent and somebody sat with an IEP and did this and read straight from the IEP. And I felt like I was constantly stopping my case managers to say, hold on just a second, let me explain what you just said to the parents, because a parent doesn't understand, working memory score of 72. That means nothing to them. And so I was constantly stopping them to say, all right, well, let's explain this part. And the the team was very disengaged. I've had, you know, teachers just kinda check out, and I felt like there needed to be more collaboration among the team. And so through our West Georgia RESA program, which is our local, regional training center, we get a lot of resources from them. They did a training several months ago, about 6 months ago, I say, and about just kind of revitalizing your IEP meetings. And it was really to focus on the new push of all these advocates that are getting involved in education.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
really to just kind of de-escalate those situations. And we didn't really have a lot of situations to de-escalate. We have a really great community here, but I took some of those things and applied them here at our school. And what it really is we sat down and created an agenda that has all the main components of the IEP, but instead of going in with a completed draft of an IEP to tell the parent, this is what we're going to do, we start the meeting with some group norms, and then we jump into the student's strengths, and I actually write on the board, and we write all this stuff down as the team is talking, and I'm just facilitating, and if I know the kid
Mhm.
really well, I give my input as well. But because
Right.
especially our 8th graders, I see them 6th, 7th, and 8th, and I grow up with them a little bit. Um,
Mhm.
so we go through the strengths, and we let the parents and the teachers, and it becomes this really great conversation. It's a great way to start. So if a parent comes in angry, that kinda disarms them a little bit
Right.
because
Yeah.
we're saying all these wonderful things. And then we move into, instead of weaknesses, we call it challenges. And
Mhm.
we walk through those challenges. And that's where we can throw in, oh, well, we noticed in this testing that, we noticed that short term memory was a challenge for them. And what does that look like in the classroom? And it just becomes a lot more collaborative instead of one person reading. And
Mhm.
so again, I'm writing everything down for everybody to see either on chart paper, or we have the like clear touch boards that we can write on. And so that's been really great. And then the only thing I put on this agenda as far as what's in the IEP is I list their goals and their most recent progress report update on that, and I list all of their current accommodations and their current services. And then as a team, we talk through, okay, well, we just talked about all these challenges. What goals do we need to put into place? Let's look at the goals we have and what are some proposed goals. And we've been able to clean up a lot of IEPs where it's just been the same goal over and over and over because
Mhm.
it's just been pushed forward and nobody's really talked about it. It's been a case
Right.
manager writing an IEP. And so I've really helped my case managers to not put so much in the draft going in. Let's talk about it. Let's have a kind of a baseline of what we're going to talk about, but then all of the meat of our IEPs comes from that team, and it's been a game changer for our kids and for our parents. We've gotten a lot of really great feedback, especially from the families who have been with us since 6th grade, and they've seen this transition from sit
Mhm.
and read and listen to this kind of really cool conversation about the kid and what they need that in that year. And then there's some things that pop up, somebody might ask. We have a really great vocational high school here. And so, like, if that pops up, we put it on what we call a parking lot. And we hold that to the end because it's not really about the IEP, but I want to address those concerns. So we make sure to address
Ah,
all of
okay.
that with the parent. Like, that's a really good thing. Let's put this here, and when we're all done, we'll come back to it. So it's really, just revitalized the way we hold our meetings.
So how do you then at the end how do you get signatures? How does that if you it's a you know what I mean? I think that I love it. Please don't hear I'm not being critical, but it's like, oh gosh, where's the signature go? How do we get the signature?
Right.
How do you make that work so that
So we
that
still
you
print the
get a
signature page, and
okay.
we print the draft, and
Okay.
usually, our case managers will load in present levels. They'll go ahead and load the impact statement. Um, they will load the existing accommodations and the existing goals, and then we go back
Ah,
in
so you
and
can edit,
yes. So
tweak.
we
Yeah.
open everything, we print the
Gotcha.
meeting notice, and then we head back in. And I always let parents know, give your case manager a couple days. They're gonna pop all this information in, and then we send parents a draft for them to preview before we go ahead and finalize it out.
Gotcha. But they sign it at the meeting then? Do they
They
sign it at the
sign
meeting?
in as a meeting attendee.
As meeting
Yes.
attendee. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's good. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. Occupational therapy shouldn't be one more thing on your plate. It should be a solution. Lighthouse Therapy offers school-based occupational therapy services that actually work for you and your staff. Our OTs have an average of 16 years of experience in schools, and they support everything from handwriting to fine motor to sensory integration. And you can choose from 3 different service models, whether it be virtual, hybrid, or in person. It's OT that fits your workflow without the chaos. Visit lighthouse-therapy.com/brighter together to learn more. I
Yes.
love it. I love it. It's I wish all of them were that way. That's
Yes.
one of the things you get in a rut sometimes, you just get in a place where you're just like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. This is what we do. This is what we do, and it just is, it's so important that, and I think for me, when I realized more so once I was my own parent, once I
Yes.
was a parent, it made such a difference, to know. And then having friends that had students that or children that were on IEPs also, it's just enlightening when it just makes it more real, right?
Right. Yeah,
So,
I
yeah,
agree.
very cool.
It's been
Very
a game
cool.
changer.
Yeah, that's a great game changer.
Yeah,
Yeah. So tell me, you also have some experience with co-teaching.
I
So I'd
do.
love to hear about what your experience is and how do you go about implementing and making that successful?
Yeah, co-teaching's hard. I mean, it's like a marriage and you're stuck with a person. You could be stuck or you get to be with that person every day.
Right.
And
Right.
I was really blessed in my early career as a special education teacher to teach with a woman named Kelly Mahaney. She's from Savannah. Um, And she's probably 20 years older than me, maybe not quite that much older than me, but she was a veteran teacher and I was straight out of college. And, you come straight out of college with all these grand ideas and we just oh gosh, we should have written a book. We worked so well together that the students in that room didn't know who was gen ed, who was special ed. I don't even know they knew
Ah,
that one of us was special ed, really. Um,
neat.
I had a desk in that room and I worked in that classroom for several periods a day. It wasn't something that I popped in on. We
Mm-hmm.
were a team. And I graded, I conferenced, with kids, I taught. I didn't just work with students that had IEPs, I worked with everybody, and it was really magical, and, so that's kind of where my thinking comes when it comes for collaborative teaching, because right now, I feel like there's a lot of special education teachers just kind of functioning as a paraprofessional, just going in and providing support, but they're not providing that specially designed instruction. And I also think a lot of our special education teachers pull their kids into a small group out of the collaborative room and they pull because, oh, you have IEP, you have IEP, you have an IEP, all of y'all come with me. And it should be more about what skill that they need to
Right.
work on. And it
Yeah.
might not be all kids with IEPs. And that's the whole point of collaborative um, instruction is so that they can be with their peers and get those social skills and so that's been a really big push by me in my building this year is to really change how that looks. We've got some scheduling things because I had the opportunity to be with the same teacher almost all day, whereas our teachers are having to move a little bit more. So we're trying to brainstorm some ways to change that and to try some pilot programs that might look a little different than what's traditionally been done in this building for, 20 years. So
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that takes time, and that takes
Yeah.
a lot of people to get on board before we can make a lot of changes, but we've got small changes already happening, within classrooms, which is really cool to see.
So, is it is there any hurdles when it comes to the finances of that? Is that part of the hurdle, or is it more
Yeah, I
just
think
the
so. I think that's always kind of a hurdle in education is
yeah.
money, trying to have enough people in the right place, and, we live in a very transient area. We're very close to the airport, so we have a lot of people coming and going. We're really close to another military base. And we have a lot of industry coming out of Japan and various countries. So we are an ESOL school, so we have kids who speak all kinds of different languages within our special education program as well. And people are constantly moving. And so we might start the year with 650 kids, and by December, we have like 680. And, our funding comes from the previous year, and it's
Mm. Which
changing
is
and it's
which is
hard.
which is so upside down and backwards. So Esau, I'm assuming, I
And I'm
want to make
sorry.
sure.
Thank you. Yes, English as a second language. These kiddos are coming to us unable to speak English. In fact, my last year in the classroom, I had 5 different languages I was using. Yeah, it's fun though.
Yeah,
It's
I
it's neat.
figured that's what you were saying, and I just wanted to make sure. I
Yeah,
wanted to make sure you were talking about languages, and I'm like, I think that's what you meant, but
yeah,
just to be sure.
absolutely.
So yeah, wow, wow. So how do you deal with that when you have somebody that comes in and speaks Mandarin and nobody else speaks Mandarin?
Lots of just immersion. Um,
Okay,
the the philosophy in that department is that you just throw them in and let them start learning the language, but, the woman that is over ESOL in our building is amazing, and she actually speaks a couple different languages, and she's really been pushing the English language instruction, and our kids are growing, oh my goodness, by
nice.
leaps and bounds. And it's really neat because it's hard for we've had a couple kids come from Puerto Rico and different, um, mostly Spanish-speaking countries with an IEP, and that's been hard. I mean, we're having to use Google Translate quite a bit. We're teaching our kids how to use Google Translate, that we've taught the teachers how to use devices like or programs like Canva or Brisk to change the languages and be able to lower the reading level as needed in the
Mm,
different language, which has been because we have
gotcha.
I have
Yeah.
one little boy who he he has a learning disability, but he also struggles with English. So it was hard to determine, is this a language barrier or is this part of the disability? And so that it's
Yeah.
been hard, but we kinda work together with our ESOL teacher. We do a lot of Google Translate, a lot of, ChatGPT. "Can you please translate this for the
AI.
parent?"
Yeah. I was thinking that AI is going to do a lot of that for you in the
AI has been
future.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
they're growing, and we're getting there.
Yeah. I love now they have these little headphones too that you can put in and kind of interpret on the fly for you as you go. I'm like, ooh, that's really cool.
So
Um,
crazy.
I go to get my nails done and they all speak Vietnamese there. And I one of these days I want to wear it because I know I don't think they're saying anything bad about me, but it's just one of those things where it's like all this language is happening and I understand none of it.
Right.
you
Well,
know?
we've had IEP meetings where we've had to have a translator. We have a
Mm-hmm.
Spanish translator, but
Mm-hmm.
for other languages, Google Translate has a conversation piece where you can turn it on and it will just go back and forth translating for you. It's very cool. So we've used
Yes.
it a lot here in this building for our kids.
Yeah. When we went to, Cabo a couple of years ago, for the summer, and, I had it translate on my phone. It was beautiful because I could talk to it, and it would type it out, and then it would translate it in Spanish, and then it would speak it in
Yes.
Spanish. And they were like, "Ah!" And because I was trying to communicate with, because I don't speak Spanish at all.
Right.
I mean, a little bit. I had a little bit in high school. I kind of know enough to be dangerous, but tell me where the baño is. I know how to get to the
Yeah.
bathroom, right? I know God bless you, Dios
Yes.
de bendiga. That's a good one,
That's
right?
a good one to
But that's
know.
about it. There isn't a ton. And I live in South Texas. Corpus Christi has tons of some of really good friends of ours. Their first language is Spanish, and they laugh at me because I'm like, I know what you're talking about, but I couldn't tell you like to translate the words, but I can get the gist. So
Yeah.
it's so funny. But it's like anything else. It's a language, and you know it or you don't, and you still got to help the kids, right? Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and I love that for those kids that now we have this technology that will help them, in a way that 20 years ago you didn't have that.
I can't even imagine even just 10 years ago trying to
Mhm.
come into a English speaking school and trying to learn. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
sink or
tough.
swim, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it was just sink or swim, which is sad. Sad that that's what it was, but, we live in a technologically advanced society, which we're grateful for. It has
Mhm.
its drawbacks. It
It
does,
does.
but it's also so that's awesome. Um, what would you say, is the one thing that if you could just fix it, like never have to worry about it again in your world, in your job, miraculously, I never have to worry about that again. I never have to deal with it again. What would that be?
Ooh, that's a tough question. Oh, I don't this is an impossible fix, but if I could fix some of the family relationships that my kids have,
Mm,
um,
mhm,
just seeing what kids go through today, and it kinda gives me, I guess, a form of survivor's guilt because I know I grew up with, like, the Joneses and just seeing how many kids are struggling and how many families are struggling. If I could fix that,
mhm.
I think that would change education by leaps and bounds, but unfortunately,
Yeah,
we have to worry about what we can control, so we just keep
yeah.
loving on them and make them part of our
But
family.
that question just always goes to your heart, right? It's
It
the
does.
thing that is like where is your heart in education? And it's for those kids. And that's why I asked the question, because I know I always will get a heart answer,
Mhm.
because we as educators love what we do, love our kids, love that to see them be successful, and it's tough when they're struggling for something that you can't fix, you know? Yeah. Having them well fed and, groomed and clean and, emotionally ready for school to learn, yeah. Sometimes those selves feel so insurmountable at times, so,
Yes, it does. So,
yeah, but
nothing we can do to fix those things, so
no.
we do what we can
S
here and make those
yeah, so
relationships.
yeah, you just do. You just do. So, Kristen, where should people go if they want to learn a little bit more about you? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you on
I
I
am
don't know
on
what this.
LinkedIn. I, about 6, 8 months ago, ditched all social media.
Oh, good
So
for
I
you.
have, like, gone radio silence. It was really just for mental health. I felt like I was wasting too much time on it, and, it just seeing all the things is so negative all the time. So, I left, and it's been really great. So I'm kind of not in a virtual world, but I am on LinkedIn, so you can
Okay.
find me there for sure.
Okay. Cool. Well, cool. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for being brighter together with us, because we
Thank you for
are, right?
having
We're brighter
me.
together.
That's
So
great.
um, God bless you, and have a great second semester. I know we're full swing, right?
We are, we are. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for having me, Janet. I appreciate it.